Gods, all I want is a dad. A lonely alien girl never knew a CEO billionaire was listening, HFY. Lyria sat at the edge of the glowing cliff, her small legs dangling over the side as the twin moons of Lysara bathed the bioluminescent forests in a soft, silver light. The wind carried the scent of strange flowers and the faint hum of distant creatures, but it could not touch the emptiness she felt inside. Since she could remember, her nights had been filled with the same quiet longing, a wish she barely dared to speak aloud. Gods, all I want is a dad, she whispered to the stars, her voice trembling. Her words scattered across the winds, unheard by anyone nearby, yet they carried the depth of her loneliness. Lyria was different from the other children in her city. Her skin shimmered faintly in the moonlight, reflecting the colors of her emotions in ways that startled most people. Her relatives, though well-meaning, often found her strange and distant. They tried to fill her days with lessons, games, and companions, but Lyria's heart felt hollow. Her parents had vanished when she was very young, leaving her with only fragmented memories of warmth, laughter, and gentle hands that had guided her through her first steps. She clung to those fragments, replaying them like old recordings, hoping somehow to feel them again. Every night, the cliffs were her refuge. Here, above the floating cities and the buzzing life below, she could speak her truth to the skies. No one interrupted her, no one laughed, and the stars listened without judgment. She often wondered why her parents had left and if they had ever wanted to return. Most nights she would stare at the moons, tracing imaginary paths between them, hoping that one day a miracle would bring her someone who could be the father she had never known. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Earth was bustling with its own rhythm of life. Among the skyscrapers of New Manhattan, high above the city streets where cars zipped like silver threads, Adrian Kane sat in his penthouse office. He was a man of immense wealth, a billionaire CEO who had built his empire through brilliance, determination, and an uncanny ability to see opportunities where others saw obstacles. Yet despite all his accomplishments, Adrian felt a strange emptiness. He had everything that the world told him he should want: money, power, influence, but he lacked connection. Adrian's work often involved monitoring interstellar communication networks. His company, Kane Industries, invested heavily in the exploration of new planets, research of alien species, and rescue missions in dangerous worlds. One night, as he reviewed routine communications, a faint, peculiar signal caught his attention. Unlike the usual signals of distress, trading messages, or scientific reports, this one carried something different, a raw, emotional resonance that seemed almost human. He leaned closer, adjusting the quantum filters and scanning the frequency. A soft, trembling voice emerged through the static. "Gods, all I want is a dad." The words were repeated not once but several times, filled with hope, fear, and longing. Adrian felt a chill run down his spine. It was not just the uniqueness of the voice that struck him. It was the honesty, the vulnerability, and the quiet strength that underlined the plea. For hours, Adrian listened. He traced the signal back to Lysara, a distant planet known for its floating cities and bioluminescent forests. Most humans had long considered Lysara uninhabitable, or at least impractical for human visitation. Yet here was a life form, a young girl, sending her voice across the stars, reaching ears that she did not know were listening. Adrian's heart, hardened by years of board meetings and negotiations, felt something it had not felt in decades: the urgent desire to help. The next morning, Adrian reviewed the logistics of reaching Lysara. His company had the resources, the technology, and the trained personnel for interstellar travel, but it was not a mission he could delegate. This required him personally. He would be stepping into the unknown, risking his own safety, and potentially facing dangers that no human had ever encountered. Yet the thought of leaving that voice unanswered was unbearable. Back on Lysara, Lyria went about her day as usual. She attended lessons that taught her about the history of her people, the intricate designs of her floating city, and the strange creatures that lived in the forests below. But her mind often wandered. She imagined a figure coming to her, someone strong and kind, who could fill the empty space left by her parents. She had drawn hundreds of sketches of this figure in her notebook, tall, with gentle eyes, always smiling, always listening. Sometimes she wondered if such a person existed at all. Her friends at school did not understand her longing. They laughed and played, chasing each other through the floating platforms of their city, oblivious to the quiet sorrow that Lyria carried. Occasionally, someone would ask about her parents, and she would give the same polite smile, the same rehearsed answer. They are exploring. They will return someday. But deep down, she knew that their absence had lasted too long to be fixed by hope alone. That evening, as the twin moons rose again, Lyria climbed to her cliffside. She wrapped herself in a shawl her mother had made and stared at the horizon. For some reason, tonight felt different. The wind carried a hum she had never heard before, almost like a vibration in the air itself. She tilted her head, listening carefully. Then a silver streak appeared in the sky, a flash of light that cut through the darkness like a comet. Her heart leapt. The light grew closer, moving with a precision that no natural phenomenon could explain. Lyria's instincts screamed at her, but curiosity overpowered fear. The streak landed softly on the cliffs nearby, and a door opened with a hiss. Out stepped a figure, human, tall, and dressed in strange clothing that shimmered faintly in the moonlight. Lyria's breath caught in her throat. She had imagined this moment countless times, but reality was more overwhelming than any sketch or dream. The man looked at her with calm, patient eyes. He did not speak immediately. Instead, he observed her as though trying to understand the depth of her thoughts without interrupting them. Finally, he spoke, his voice gentle but firm. "Hello, Lyria. My name is Adrian. I heard your voice." Could someone truly have crossed the vast distance of space simply because she had spoken her heart aloud? Tears welled in her eyes, and for the first time in many years she felt a flicker of hope. Over the next few hours, Adrian and Lyria talked. He asked about her memories, her wishes, and the things she had never shared with anyone. He did not judge her feelings or try to fix her instantly. He listened, and in listening, he offered something far more powerful than any treasure or technology: understanding. For Lyria, the encounter was transformative. She realized that the universe was larger and more connected than she had ever imagined. Her lonely whispers had traveled across galaxies and had reached someone who cared. It was not the parents she had lost, but it was the start of something new, a bond that could grow into the love and guidance she had always dreamed of. As the night deepened and the twin moons cast their silver glow across the forests, Lyria felt a warmth in her heart she had not felt in years. For the first time, she whispered not just a wish, but a hope, that this stranger could be more than a visitor, that perhaps in the vastness of the cosmos, she had finally found someone who could stand beside her, listen to her, and help her grow. And far above Lysara, aboard the sleek starship that had brought him there, Adrian reflected on what he had heard and what he had seen. He had traveled to many worlds, encountered many life forms, and faced countless challenges, but nothing had prepared him for the quiet power of a single, lonely voice reaching across the stars. He realized that this mission was not about wealth, influence, or discovery. It was about connection, empathy, and the courage to answer a call from a life that might otherwise have gone unheard. As the first light of Lysara's distant sun began to paint the skies in hues of gold and violet, both human and alien stood on the cliff, looking toward a future neither could yet imagine. Lyria's loneliness had not disappeared, but it had begun to transform into something stronger, something alive. And Adrian, the billionaire who had conquered so much of the known universe, had discovered that even a heart hardened by experience could still be touched, guided, and inspired by the quiet hope of a child reaching for love. In that moment, neither of them knew what challenges awaited. Lysara was full of dangers, secrets, and mysteries yet to be revealed. But for now, the two figures on the cliff shared a rare and fragile understanding, a beginning built not on magic, not on miracles, but on the simple, profound power of listening, caring, and daring to cross the impossible distance between stars to answer a lonely plea. And for Lyria, that was enough. The morning sun rose slowly over Lysara, painting the floating cities in soft shades of gold and violet. Lyria stood on the cliffside, her heart still racing from the previous night. Adrian Kane, the human who had arrived out of nowhere, was already awake, inspecting the strange devices he had brought with him. His movements were precise and calm, a stark contrast to the whirlwind of emotions inside Lyria. "Good morning," Adrian said, glancing at her with a smile that seemed to carry the warmth of the sun itself. "Are you ready for today?" She had never imagined that someone would respond to her whispers, let alone cross galaxies to meet her. Adrian turned to look at the vast forest below, the bioluminescent trees shimmering faintly even in daylight. "We need to explore," he said. "I want to understand this world and I want to understand you. And I think we can help each other along the way." Yet something in Adrian's calm presence gave her courage. They began their journey by descending the cliffside carefully, Lyria leading the way through hidden paths she knew from childhood. Adrian followed, adjusting to the alien terrain with careful steps. He asked questions constantly, not to interrogate her, but to learn and connect. "How does your city float?" he asked, pointing to the distant platforms that hovered in the air like giant leaves. "It is old technology," Lyria explained, her pride showing despite her usual shyness. "Our ancestors built it to protect us from floods and storms. It has lasted for centuries, even without constant maintenance. Humans have built many things, but the principle's here. It's clever. I can see why your people survived so long." She taught Adrian to do the same, showing him how to walk silently, how to watch for signs of danger, and how to read the subtle cues of the forest. He absorbed everything quickly, adapting his human skills to this alien world in a way that made Lyria admire him. Hours passed, and the bond between them grew. Lyria began to speak more freely, sharing stories of her childhood, of the adventures she had imagined with her parents, and the nights spent whispering to the moons. Adrian listened without interruption, occasionally offering advice or encouragement. His presence was steady, reliable, a living answer to the emptiness she had carried for so long. As the day drew on, dark clouds began to gather over the forest. A storm was approaching, one of the unpredictable weather patterns Lysara was known for. Lyria's heart raced. She knew the storm could be dangerous, with sudden gusts of wind strong enough to topple even the largest trees, and lightning that could strike without warning. "We need to find shelter," Lyria said urgently, scanning the forest. Her eyes landed on a cavern hidden among the roots of a giant, glowing tree. "This way," she called, leading Adrian toward it. The storm hit just as they reached the cavern. Rain fell in sheets and lightning flashed across the sky. The cavern's entrance offered some protection, but the wind howled around them, carrying with it the scent of ozone and the distant cries of forest creatures disturbed by the storm. Inside the cavern, Adrian set down his devices and looked at Lyria. "You handle these storms well," he said. "I don't think I would have survived this without you." Adrian shared stories of Earth, of human achievements, and of his own lonely childhood, which he rarely spoke about. Lyria listened, fascinated by the similarities between her experiences and his. Despite the differences in species and worlds, they understood each other in ways that transcended biology or culture. When the storm finally passed, the forest outside glimmered with fresh colors. The rain had washed the leaves, and small streams sparkled in the sunlight. Lyria and Adrian stepped out of the cavern, breathing in the crisp, clean air. The forest was alive again, and so were they. As they continued their journey, Lyria noticed something unusual. Certain areas of the forest seemed to respond to her presence. Flowers would open slightly as she approached, and faint lights would flicker on the trees, almost like they were communicating. Adrian noticed it too, recording data on his devices. "This is remarkable," Adrian said. "It's as if the forest recognizes you. I've always felt connected to this place." "This is one of the ruins my parents used to study," she said. "They believed it held secrets about Lysara, about the energy of the planet. I've never been allowed close before." Adrian used his human knowledge of science and logic, while Lyria used her intuition and understanding of Lysara's natural energy. Slowly, they began to decipher the meaning. The ruins spoke of a power that could connect the living beings of Lysara to the planet itself, a form of communication that transcended spoken words. Lyria realized that her parents had been searching for a way to preserve this connection, and perhaps even to guide future generations. As night approached, they set up a temporary camp near the ruins. Lyria gathered bioluminescent plants for light, while Adrian constructed a small shelter with his portable tools. They shared a meal of local fruits and rehydrated proteins, sitting close to the soft glow of the plants. "Do you ever wonder why they left?" Lyria asked quietly, staring at the stars above. "All the time," Adrian replied. "But I also believe that even when people are gone, their actions can shape the future. Your parents left you their curiosity, their strength, and now perhaps me." She had spent so long wishing for a father figure, imagining someone strong and kind. Adrian was not her father, not yet, and maybe never in the traditional sense. But he was something far more profound, a companion, a protector, and a guide who had crossed galaxies to reach her. As they prepared to sleep under the open sky, Lyria felt a sense of security she had never known. The twin moons reflected in her eyes, and for the first time her lonely whispers seemed to have found a home. She realized that family was not always defined by biology. It could be built through trust, understanding, and the courage to care. The night was calm, and the forest around them pulsed gently with light. Adrian sat beside Lyria, keeping watch, and she drifted into a peaceful sleep. Her dreams were filled with possibilities, adventures in the forest, journeys across the stars, and a future where she was never truly alone. By the next morning, they were ready to continue their exploration. Lyria felt stronger, braver, and more connected than ever. With Adrian by her side, she knew that together they could face whatever challenges Lysara had in store. The ruins, the forest, the creatures, all of it was part of her world and now part of their shared journey. Adrian, too, felt a change within himself. He had spent years building empires, achieving goals, and seeking challenges. Yet none of it had touched him like this: the chance to guide, to protect, and to witness the growth of a young life across an alien world. For the first time, he understood that greatness was not only measured by wealth or power, but by the ability to nurture and inspire others. As the sun rose higher, bathing the forest in warm light, Lyria and Adrian set out once more. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with danger, mysteries, and discoveries waiting to be made. But they faced it together, two beings from different worlds, united by trust, courage, and the quiet promise of a bond that could withstand any storm. And as they walked, Lyria whispered once more, not to the stars but to the human beside her. "Thank you," she said softly. Adrian smiled. "No," he replied. "Thank you for letting me listen." Strange creatures flitted between the branches, some invisible except for the glimmer of their eyes. Lyria moved confidently, her senses finely tuned to the rhythms of the forest, while Adrian followed closely, marveling at every detail. "Do you feel it?" Lyria asked quietly, pausing to touch the bark of a massive tree. Her fingers glowed slightly as she made contact, and the tree responded with a faint vibration. "The forest, it knows us. It responds to me. I think it remembers my parents too." "Your connection is extraordinary." Adrian noticed how Lyria's confidence and instincts guided him through the terrain safely, teaching him to watch the subtle shifts in the environment: shadows, sounds, even the faint hum of energy in the trees. After a while, they reached a clearing dominated by an enormous structure partially buried under the roots of massive trees. It was ancient, carved from stone that shimmered with a faint, iridescent glow. Strange symbols covered its surface, some of them moving subtly as if alive. Lyria stepped forward with awe. "This is one of my parents' old research sites," she said softly. "They believed it held secrets about Lysara, about the energy that connects the planet and its people. I've only read about it in their notes. I never thought I'd see it myself." The ruins spoke of a network of energy flowing through Lysara, connecting every living being to the planet itself. Lyria realized that her parents had been searching for a way to strengthen that connection, to protect the world and its inhabitants, and perhaps even to guide future generations like her. "This is amazing," Adrian said. "Your parents were trying to understand the balance of life here, and you can feel it. That's rare, maybe even unique. Their knowledge, their courage, their curiosity. You are living proof of them, and maybe in time I can help you honor that legacy." Lyria instinctively moved to protect Adrian, standing slightly ahead of him, her hands ready to summon the subtle energy she could feel flowing through her. Adrian, though human and not attuned to the planet in the same way, remained calm, studying the creatures and their movements. "They're not attacking," he noted. "They're curious. They recognize that we are connected to this place." Adrian set up a small camp using his portable equipment, while Lyria gathered glowing plants for light. They shared a simple meal, talking quietly about what they had discovered. "I think your parents left clues for you," Adrian said. "Not just about the planet, but about you. They wanted you to understand your place here, and perhaps to find someone who could help guide you. We'll figure it out together." Lyria led the way, her instincts and connection to the planet helping them navigate safely. As they entered the first cave, the air grew cooler, and faint carvings on the walls glowed with the same iridescent energy they had seen before. Lyria reached out to touch them, feeling the flow of energy pass through her. Adrian watched in amazement as she moved with confidence and understanding. "These symbols," Lyria said, "they are messages from my parents. They wanted me to find them, to understand what they discovered, and to continue their work." Lyria's parents had documented experiments, observations of Lysara's energy, and warnings about the dangers of misusing it. They had also left personal messages for her, written in a way that only she could interpret, using symbols that resonated with her own energy. Lyria felt a mixture of sadness and joy as she read the messages. Her parents had vanished, but they had prepared her for the future. They had believed in her, trusted her, and left a legacy of knowledge and courage. Adrian watched her quietly, knowing that this moment was transformative. The girl he had come across by chance was now stepping into her inheritance, discovering her strength and her connection to the world around her. He felt honored to witness it and proud to support her. As night fell again, they set up camp within the cave. The glowing symbols provided light, and the air was filled with the faint hum of energy from the planet. Lyria lay down, exhausted but exhilarated, her mind racing with discoveries and possibilities. Adrian kept watch, reflecting on how much he had learned in just a few days. Humans were adaptable, capable of learning, teaching, and caring in ways that transcended species and worlds. Lyria was proof of that, and so was he. The following day brought new challenges. They discovered a narrow passage leading deeper into the cave system, but it was blocked by a sudden collapse of rocks. Lyria studied the blockage carefully, sensing the energy around it. "If we go slowly, we can move some of the stones," she said, "but we need to work together." By the end of the day, they had created a safe passage deeper into the caves. At the end of the tunnel, they found a small chamber filled with artifacts and devices, clearly the work of Lyria's parents. There were notebooks, strange tools, and holographic maps of Lysara's energy networks. Lyria's eyes shone with wonder and recognition. "These are theirs," she whispered. "Everything they worked for, it's all here." She realized that family was not only about blood but about support, guidance, and shared adventure. As they prepared to leave the caves, Lyria looked at Adrian. "Thank you," she said softly, "for coming here, for listening, and for helping me. Your courage, your connection, your heart, it's extraordinary." They walked forward side by side, ready to face whatever Lysara had in store. The ruins, the forest, the creatures, they were all part of her inheritance and now part of their shared journey. And as they moved through the glowing landscape, Lyria whispered once more, not to the stars but to the human beside her. "I think I'm ready," she said. Adrian smiled. "And I'll be right here with you, every step of the way." They had spent days exploring the ruins and deciphering the messages left by Lyria's parents, but the deepest secrets of the planet were still ahead of them. Lyria's heart beat fast with excitement and fear, knowing that whatever lay at the center of the forest could change her life forever. "This way," Lyria said, her instincts guiding them toward a narrow path hidden beneath thick vines. The energy in the air grew stronger as they moved, vibrating faintly beneath her skin. Adrian followed closely, trusting her judgment. He had come to understand that Lyria's connection to Lysara was extraordinary, a unique bridge between the planet and its inhabitants. As they reached the end of the path, they found a hidden valley, unlike anything Lyria had ever seen. Massive crystalline structures jutted from the ground, glowing with the energy of the planet itself. Streams of light arced between them, forming a network that pulsed in time with the life around it. This was the heart of Lysara's energy, the place her parents had been searching for decades. Lyria stepped forward, awestruck. This is what they were trying to protect," she whispered. "The very life of the planet." Lyria could feel it humming beneath her hands, responding to her presence. Adrian watched, fascinated, as she reached out and touched the crystal. The energy flowed into her, warm and alive, filling her with a sense of clarity and purpose. Suddenly, a holographic projection flickered to life inside the crystal. It was her parents, their forms shimmering in the light. Lyria gasped, tears filling her eyes. She had waited so long to see them, even if only in this form. "My dear Lyria," her mother's voice said softly, "if you are seeing this, it means you have grown into the brave, curious soul we hoped you would become. We could not return, but we left our work and our love for you. The energy of Lysara is delicate, and it must be protected. You have the ability to connect with it in ways few can. Use it wisely. We trust that you will continue what we began, and that you will not be alone. Someone will be with you to guide and support you when we cannot." "I will help you, Lyria, every step of the way," he said. The projection continued, showing detailed maps of the energy network, instructions for stabilizing it, and warnings about the dangers of misuse. Lyria listened carefully, absorbing every word. She realized that her parents had prepared her not just to survive, but to thrive, to be a guardian of Lysara's life and future. As the sun rose higher in the sky, Lyria and Adrian began their work. They moved through the valley, using the instructions left by her parents to stabilize the energy flows. Lyria's connection to the planet allowed her to sense imbalances and guide the energy back into harmony. Adrian used his knowledge of technology and problem-solving to support her, constructing devices to amplify and direct the energy where it was needed. It was difficult work, requiring patience, focus, and teamwork. But together, they succeeded in restoring balance to the valley. The energy pulses grew steady and strong, spreading through the crystalline network and reaching every corner of the planet. Lyria felt a profound sense of accomplishment. She was not just a lonely girl anymore. She was a protector, a guide, and a bridge between worlds. As they rested beside the largest crystal, Lyria spoke quietly. "I can feel them here," she said. "My parents there with me. And you've helped me realize that I am not alone." Each discovery strengthened her understanding of Lysara and deepened her connection to the planet. She learned to harness the energy in small ways, healing wounded creatures, encouraging plants to grow, and even communicating with the forest in subtle, intuitive ways. One evening, As the twin moons rose, Lyria sat on a rock near a glowing stream, her thoughts full of the journey she had taken. She had come so far, from a lonely girl whispering to the stars to someone capable of protecting an entire world. And through it all, Adrian had been by her side, offering guidance, support, and friendship. "Adrian," she said softly, "thank you for believing in me. I never imagined anyone could come across the galaxy just to listen to me." And I answered, "That's all. But seeing you grow, seeing you take your place here, that is more important than anything I've ever done. Blood is important, but it is not everything. Trust, care, and shared experience matter just as much, and you've built that here." Their combined efforts created harmony and stability, ensuring that Lysara's life would thrive for generations. But the most profound change was within themselves. Lyria had grown confident, courageous, and wise beyond her years. She had learned that loneliness could be transformed into purpose, and that connections could be found in unexpected ways. Adrian had discovered that human ingenuity and empathy could bridge even the vastest distances in the universe, and that caring for someone could be as powerful as any business or technological achievement. One morning, as the suns rose over the crystalline valley, Lyria stood at the edge of a cliff, looking at the forest below. Adrian joined her, and together they watched the world wake. "Do you remember the first night we met?" Adrian asked. Lyria laughed softly. "I do. I thought you were a dream, a figure from my imagination. I never expected a human to come all this way." She no longer whispered to the stars with hope alone. She had found a presence that answered her call. She had a mentor, a guide, and a friend, and together they would face whatever challenges came next. In that moment, the valley around them seemed to pulse with life, the energy of Lysara resonating with their combined strength. Lyria reached out, touching the crystalline structures, and felt the hum of the planet's life course through her. She realized that her parents had left her more than just instructions. They had left her a gift, the ability to understand and protect a world. Adrian watched her, proud and amazed. "You are extraordinary, Lyria. Not because of what you can do with the planet, but because of who you are." The journey had not been easy, but it had taught them both lessons they would carry forever. Lyria had transformed from a lonely girl into a protector of life, a bridge between worlds and a symbol of hope. Adrian had discovered the power of empathy, the importance of trust, and the joy of nurturing a life that mattered. As they looked toward the horizon, Lyria whispered softly, "Thank you for being here, for listening, for believing. That is something worth protecting." The lonely whispers that had once drifted unanswered across the cosmos had finally found a voice, and that voice had changed the universe, one heart at a time. Lyria was no longer alone. She had a family she had chosen, a purpose she had embraced, and a world that would flourish under her care. And Adrian, who had once sought challenge and adventure, had found something far more meaningful: the quiet, transformative power of love, trust, and the courage to answer a lonely plea across the stars. Together, they looked forward to a future of discovery, guardianship, and shared journeys. Lysara's energy pulsed gently beneath their feet, a living reminder that life, in all its forms, could thrive when guided by courage, empathy, and connection. And as the suns rose higher, illuminating the valley in golden light, Lyria knew that she had finally found her place, not just in the universe, but in a family built on trust, understanding, and the unbreakable bond between two extraordinary beings.